Testing. 1, 2, 3. Go outside and praise the sun. You're sweating buckets because it's a hot one. While you're out, sip some tea, relax your mind, and enjoy the breeze. Slow your pace. No need to be all fast. And enjoy this episode of Backlit Cinema, the podcast. I'm your host, Zoe, that's Z-O or Z-O if you're outside of the U.S. It's the 118th episode. Thank you for downloading or streaming. We really appreciate it. We watch movies that I loved when I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I talk about my favorite parts. I got some trivia and some more stuff because we have all of that here on the show. Now, if you like what you're about to hear, please tell your family, tell your friends, tell all your neighbors, tell your favorite rogue cop who plays by his own rules about our humble little show, Backlit Cinema. Now, I have something special for you. As I did not tell you last week about our guest. I meant to post it on social media. Didn't get around to do that because, sometimes you get busy and you get forgetful. All right. To be honest, I totally forgot to do it. And it's sort of a late guess, a spur of the moment type of deal. It was a 1 week deal. We had to bang out and get everything together. And we did it. We worked it out. And he's here today. So our next guest from Parts Unknown, bringing you news gone wild, the latest video game craze, and the dopest things from pop culture. Ladies, gentlemen, and gender fluid, I bring you the master of gaming disaster, Tony Z.
It's like I just walked out to WrestleMania.
or Tony Z if you're outside of the U.S. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. That was an awesome intro.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was saying I felt like I just walked out to WrestleMania. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I really want my guests to feel welcome. And I welcome you to the studio. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you joining me. I enjoy your show. Well, actually, both of these shows. I just found out about the second show that you do, and we're going to talk about them in a second. And I wanted to ask you some questions. Now, my audience knows that my questions aren't complicated. They're very basic questions. Right. So let's get on with one of my basic questions. So one of my questions, as soon as I find my questions, I wrote them down, and they're on this Samsung pad somewhere. So my first question is, how do you have the energy to do multiple podcasts? I mean, I'm doing this one podcast. Well, my problem is I'm doing everything. Like I'm doing the promotion, I'm doing the editing, I'm doing the show itself, I'm doing the designs for the merchandise. I'm doing all of these things, and it's a lot. All the writing. I do very little of the AI writing. I just started using AI for writing some of the things on the website that I'm using. I use Wix as the website host. So I do some AI stuff, and I think I need to do more because I'm doing too much already. So how do you do it?
The answer is I don't have the energy. I just do it anyway. That's the quick and easy of it, because I record typically on weekends, because Monday through Friday I work second shift. So with the exception of For the Love of, which I'll usually record a Thursday night after work, the Infinite Journeys is pretty easy. I just throw up an episode here or there. I just set up every Sunday to record, so that's pretty easy. But yeah, the other brilliant shows that I do, I don't know what I'm thinking half the time. I'm just like, this is a good idea. Let me do it, because I have that ADHD brain. Yeah. And then usually I'm like, why did I do that?
Right.
Here I am doing 3 shows and a YouTube that I barely keep up with.
Right. Yeah, as Nike says, just do it. Because I've been thinking of doing another podcast, but I don't know what I would talk about. Because I'm kind of I said earlier, I'm kind of a mansplainer. I'm going to own it now.
We just had a conversation about that earlier.
Right. I'm going to own being a mansplainer. And so one of the things that I like to talk about is talking to people about how to improve their podcasts or something or stuff like that. Right. And the only reason I talk about it is because I listen to like other podcasts to talk about how to do a podcast, how to improve certain things like the episode art of your podcast, or how to improve the editing or stuff like that. Well, I don't know much about editing. My editing is a mess. I just have to do the best I can. But there are certain things that I see some people do, and I was like, well, that could have been better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like I don't know if I have the energy to do a second podcast. So
it's a lot. Well, at least with the new one, they're like, it takes me a while to write up the whole script for the episode, but then the episode when I actually record is only between 5 to 10 minutes long usually, so it's not too bad.
Right.
It's not a long show, it's pretty short. So I'm like, it takes me like 8 hours to write the episode, but it takes me 5 minutes to record it.
Right. Yeah, people don't understand the back end of doing a podcast, because I had did a sort of time audit on how long it takes me to get ready for a show. So one of the things that I realized, it takes about 2 hours for me to write the show notes for a regular show. And that's because I kind of get distracted. I want to go deeper than, or a deeper dive than is absolutely necessary. So like sometimes I come across an actor that's not done a bunch of stuff that I'm even familiar with, or it's done, like this is a movie podcast. I want to do the movies. I want to talk about the movies that they've been in. And a lot of times they haven't been in movies or at least not been in movies. They're like mostly TV actors. And so I'm digging way deeper to find something of this actor that's like somebody from my audience might know. But that just takes time. And probably way too much time. And then the time it takes to put stuff on social media, the time it takes to put the promotion together, all of that stuff. I didn't realize I was spending so much time, because I like to play video games. Like, why am I not playing video games? I don't understand why. I used to have so much time. I used to be able to play video games for hours, and now it seems like I'm not playing any game at all. And I think I see why. It takes a lot of time to put these together.
I'm surprised I still somehow managed to find a way to play video games.
Right. I'm kind of jealous of my past self. So another question that I have for you, speaking of your multiple podcasts, so I'm talking to you, I'm inviting you on the show because I started listening to Infinite Journeys. And the reason I started listening to Infinite Journeys because you was a guest of a comrade of both of ours, and he was doing oh shoot, what's the name of his show?
Is it Rocky?
Yeah, Rocky.
Audio
Oddity, right. Because you was on his show and I heard you on his show and I was like, oh, that'd be a great guest to be on my show too. Because Rocky was one of my first guests. I think, if not the first guest I have. I'm pretty sure he's my first guest because we had started communicating with telephone. That was because I didn't know how to connect with somebody. So I just, we exchanged real telephone numbers instead of trying to, being more security conscious.
That's better, to be honest. Because trying to contact people through social media and stuff can be a hassle sometimes.
It's definitely a hassle, but it provides kind of like a barrier because sometimes you don't want everybody to have access to your most personal stuff. Now,
that's true.
The most personal I get, like if we have to do phones, and I have a Google Voice phone number, so that provides like a slim barrier, but a barrier nonetheless, and that's pretty good. So yeah, I thought you'd be great. I've been listening to Infinite Journeys. Now I can't listen to every episode because I'm not as prolific as I used to be, but I listen to
I feel you.
Right. But I listened to the ones of the games that I played, and those are some wonderful things. The next one I want to listen to is the lore of Dead Space. I was like, oh, I gotta. I didn't realize that you did that one. That's one of my favorite games.
We did that. I think it was right when the remake came out. Was when we talked. We timed it to coincide with the remake, and I was like, "Oh, we should do the lore for this." Yeah,
that's an excellent choice. Because did you know about the Dead Space mobile game?
I've heard about it, but I've never touched it.
Oh man,
I've never heard of anybody who played it.
I played it, and it's one of the best mobile games that you could play on your phone, and it's no longer available. Cool. And I'm super sad about that because I'd play it again. It's just like the main game. It might be pared down a little bit, but it feels and looks just like the main video game that you play on television. It was an amazing game, and I can't believe they took it off. That it's no longer listed. So, but it was. Yeah,
that's happened to me with a few games too over the years. Right, they used to be on mobile, and then it's just like, nah, this is just gone.
Right. I was thinking
there was an Aliens one, I think, at one point too.
Right. And I was thinking, they took it off the store. They can do that. That's legal. There should be a rule against that. I had too much joy out of this. So you have, like I said, I've listened to you because of Infinite. I'm connecting with you now because of Infinite Journeys, but you also have another podcast called For the Love of, and then you mentioned a couple of other podcasts. So, what are some of the other podcasts you did?
The other one is Jump Scare Club. I do that with my wife. That's dedicated to horror and paranormal, like TV shows and movies and stuff like that. So it's basically just kind of like this show, only not as well prepared. I literally just hit record and start talking about whatever we just watched and try to recall it all from memory. And I was talking to my wife earlier this week. I was like, I've been listening to Zoe's show. I need to start scripting this better because I'm just all over the place on that show.
Right. There's nothing wrong with some guide rails, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like playing a game on rails. It's like Pokemon Snap. Sometimes it's a fun game.
Yep.
So, yeah, I've been listening to For the Love of. I didn't realize it was going to be like 15 to 20 minute. No, actually, it's like 10 to 15
shorter.
Minute episodes, right?
Yeah, well, the newest episode is 4 minutes and something seconds.
Right. And I was like, oh, I like these because I knew that you've been talking about them. So by the time I clicked on it, it was like you had like 4 or 5 episodes up already. And what I liked about those, because I'll listen to like a bunch of podcasts, and so I'll slip these like 10-minute episodes in between the ones like the hour-long episodes that are other podcasts that I'm listening to. I was like, oh, I really like this contrast.
I was hoping also like the shorter episodes, I was like, that should make it easily bingeable so someone could listen to like every episode and it'd make up like half of the podcasts that are out there.
Right.
Six episodes to make up like one whole show.
Yeah, it's definitely, because of how short it is, it's definitely a bingeable type of show. And I like some of the things that you talk about. It's basically, it's just me going down memory lane going, yep, I remember all of that. This is it's a very well told story.
Yeah, that's kind of what the plan was. It was just all the pop culture stuff, like movies, TV shows, anything that's pretty much popular, including foods. The most recent episode was cotton candy. I don't know why I picked it, but I was like, I'm curious about this. So I just went down that rabbit hole.
Right. So regarding video games, what are you playing now?
Currently I'm on the back catalog because there's a couple games that come out in a couple weeks, which are Diablo 4 and Street Fighter 6 are about to come out. So I'm going to be all over those. But recently I've just been kind of playing a little bit of Sonic Frontiers that released, I think, earlier this year. Right. And I haven't played a Sonic game since Sega.
Oh my God.
I think it was, so I haven't played any of the 3D ones. So this was a real stark contrast.
Right.
But I've been having a lot of fun. It's like open world. Got bosses and stuff like that. Then you'll like go through portals to do some of the old school levels, but they're not old school. Of course, there's like they'll go from the side scrolling to the 3D, like the different levels will change up. But yeah, it's actually been pretty fun. I kind of enjoy this.
That's pretty awesome. So I haven't really been playing a whole bunch of games of late. My son has just bought PlayStation 5 about a month ago. And I have yet to play one PlayStation 5 game. I'm playing PlayStation 4 games on the PlayStation 5. But
that's what I've been doing too. Because I've been we're about to do our top 5 games of 2023 like pretty soon. And luckily for the first time, like the 4 or 5 games on my list that I bought this year, I've actually played and beat them.
Right.
So that's why I'm on the back catalog, because I actually finished the games for once.
Yeah, I mean,
man,
I'll
play something and then put it down and never come back to it.
I live in the back catalog. So the game that I just finished, I'm technically finished. Like I reached like the main ending, but the version of the game I bought has like bonus content. So I think I'm in the area where it's the bonus content, and I haven't started playing that yet. But there's a game called Control, and I like it because it reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me of an old TV show I used to watch, and of the X-Files, basically.
Yep.
So yeah,
I was just talking about the X-Files earlier. My wife was like, I want to watch it again. I was like, well, we have the whole show on DVD. Just tell me when and we'll start it. Maybe we'll do it on Jump Scare Club. I don't know.
Right. So I played that. I think the next one I'll play just to get started with PlayStation 5, I'll probably play Astro's Playroom. And then I think I want to move to, like, I'm waffling. No, I know what I want to do. I want to do a short game. So I want to do Miles Morales Spider-Man. I want to play that one because I know that it's short.
I played that one on my PS4. It was like the last game I played before I think it died on me. The PS4 died on me. So that was like the last game I actually got to play before it died on me.
I didn't know that they could die.
Oh yeah, that thing was dying on me for a long time. It was overheating. And
right. And then the next one after that, I think I want to play is the first God of War. So all back catalog.
I did the same thing when
Right.
when I got my PS5. The first thing I did was went and played the first God of War and the first Horizon Zero Dawn before I went on to play the new ones, because I was like, well, I actually want to play these in order.
Right,
and so I didn't start over. I just went back from wherever I had left off the last time I played it. I was like, I'm not starting this whole game over. It's too long.
That's so hard to do. I'm actually in the middle of, what's it called? Gears of War 3. And I don't think I've played that game since maybe last year, if not longer.
Yeah.
So
I was like, I don't remember anything.
Right. So I'm waffling between starting all over again or starting from where I left off. But the problem with starting from where I left off, and then I got to find all the knickknacks that I found before, and I'm not sure. And that's the only thing that's keeping me from even playing the game at all.
Yeah, I feel you.
So one last question. One that I hadn't written down off the top of my dome. This conversation is reminding me of a trailer that I just saw. So I have to ask you, what did you think of the Mortal Kombat 1 trailer?
Oh, I'm hyped. But that's all I could say. I've been a Mortal Kombat fan since I was like a little kid. I think I didn't have the first one. I started with the second one. And I had the Sega Genesis version because I had that Sega Genesis handheld. I think it was called the Nomad.
Right.
And that was like one of the first M-rated games I somehow managed to talk my parents into buying for me.
Right.
And I could never do any of the fatalities or any of the moves. I kind of sucked at it. But I remember the acid stage, just uppercutting people into the little acid and watching their bodies melt. So ever since then, I skipped out on Mortal Kombat 4 on the Nintendo 64. I didn't play that.
Right.
But after that, I think I played Deception and Armageddon, and then went on to 9, 10, and like all the new ones. And Mortal Kombat 11 I loved for sure. So I'm pretty excited for it. I like how I don't like the Mortal Kombat 1 name because they've already done Mortal Kombat 1. This is like the third time. But I kind of get what they're doing because it's like the way the 11 ended, spoilers for anyone listening, is kind of like where they're resetting the timeline type of deal. So they're doing like a new timeline. So I'm like, I get it. But you did Mortal Kombat, then you did Mortal Kombat 2009, and now you're doing Mortal Kombat 1. That's going to be pretty confusing to people.
Most people, it's called, like, the original game was called Mortal Kombat, and then the Mortal Kombat 2009 is acknowledged as being Mortal Kombat 10, I think. And then you have
Mortal Kombat 10 is Mortal Kombat X.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So that was Mortal Kombat 9, but it was called Mortal Kombat.
Oh, okay, right. Well, that's what I meant. I know that they had sort of restarted it. And they restarted it with Mortal Kombat 9, and then Mortal Kombat X, and then Mortal Kombat 11. And I gotta say, Mortal Kombat 11 is my favorite Mortal Kombat game. It's like
phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just the overall improvements on everything. It was amazing.
What did you think when they added the Joker in as a character?
Oh,
I remember everybody was like, "Oh, come on! You already added Mortal Kombat characters to Injustice, and now you're adding it." I'm like, it's cool to me.
I didn't particularly like the way he looked because it seems like they keep changing whatever actor that they have from the previous game. Like, I preferred the actor from the previous game, but I enjoyed playing the Joker. He had a lot of gimmicks that I liked, and I liked everything that they added. I liked the Terminator and how he's like really hard to beat, and I liked the RoboCop, and I did RoboCop's weird brutality that he has, where he shoots you with like a weird rocket launcher or whatever, and you explode instead of just getting hit. So Rambo is my favorite because Rambo.
I thought that was some really interesting. Yeah, those were like the really interesting guest characters. I was like, you got Terminator, RoboCop, and Rambo somehow all in your game right now.
Rambo with Sylvester Stallone voicing Rambo is. What more could you ask for? And then Rambo is a cheese. You can just press like the hit button and get a combo just pressing one button. That's unheard of in Mortal Kombat.
I think we talked about this on Infinite Journeys, but we were saying it would be really cool if they just did a game of all of the guest characters.
Right.
Like, it doesn't even have to be Mortal Kombat. Just put all those guest characters in one game, and you got like Freddy, Jason, Alien, Predator, like all these characters. Put them all in one game.
It'll be called Mortal Kombat, the licensed properties.
Yeah. It would be pretty cool.
All right. So we're going to move right along. We had talked about video games. We talked about the podcast you're on. And now let's shift over to talk about the movie that we watched. So we're gonna shift to the opening credits. And now we're back with the opening credits, and the movie that we watched was Predator 2. In 1987, in the rainforest of Guatemala, a team of American mercenaries encountered a single mysterious combatant, seemingly more than human, that laid waste to all but one member of that elite team. The details of the encounter were classified. 10 years later, in a war zone known as Los Angeles, violent drug gangs are in open gun battles with each other and the LAPD. In the midst of all this killing, decorated police lieutenant Mike Harrigan and his squad encounter mysteriously and gruesomely murdered gang members. They quickly realize that there's a new slayer seemingly killing randomly. This killer, this unseen predator, is more than human. So Predator, this movie, or Predator 2, I should say, this movie was released November 21st, 1990, produced by Davis Entertainment, Lawrence Gordon Productions, and Silver Pictures. Lawrence Gordon.
The emphasis on the gore there, right, that was pretty cool.
I was tripping over that name. And it grossed over $30 million in the U.S. and Canada and over $57 million worldwide. $57 million on a $35 million budget. And they had poor reviews. So
how dare they have poor reviews for this
movie? Yeah, it was like people were not kind and they were not pleased with this movie. But it showed in the box office. It didn't really make a whole lot of money. Technically it's a bomb. I mean, it made more than its reported budget, but as you understand Hollywood budgeting, you know that a movie must make twice what its reported budget is to be considered even breaking even. Right. So 57 is below breaking even.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
This is not necessarily directors never directing again, but it is definitely harmful to the franchise. And this box office report effectively chilled out the franchise for a number of years before it kind of came back in recent years. So we're going to talk about who starred in this movie. Why don't you start us off?
All right, we're going to start off with one of my favorite actors, actually, Danny Glover, who plays as Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, known for his works in Lethal Weapon, The Color Purple, and Proud Mary. The only one of those I know is Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, so
because that's another series I love back in the day.
Right. He's definitely awesome in Lethal Weapon, and I think that it was because of Lethal Weapon that they had looked toward him, because I think Lethal Weapon is probably one of his earliest action movies. And because he's not really known as an action movie star, and he doesn't usually play that action movie character. Sometimes he's an abusive person, like he was in The Color Purple, or a gangster in Proud Mary. So Proud Mary was a movie with Taraji P. Henson. Is it B. Henson or P. Henson? I'm going to go with P. Sure. Taraji P. Henson. And she was phenomenal in that movie. I thought it was an awesome concept, but it was not carried out in the most entertaining way. But yeah, Danny Glover is...
much like the critics apparently thought about Predator 2.
Yeah. And didn't make much money. I hoped it would be better, but it wasn't. But yeah, Danny Glover is also one of my favorite actors. And up next, another favorite, Gary Busey. Oh, I just realized that I put a promo out to talk about the actors in the movie. And I see that when I made the promo, I misspelled Gary Busey. So I'm going to have to fix that. But, so Gary Busey, he played Peter Keyes. I'm tripping over all these words. And he's been in the Buddy Holly story, Point Break, and Under Siege.
Oh man, Point Break is such a good movie.
Yeah. Eventually, I'll get to that one.
quick fun fact about Gary Busey is also in The Ginger Dead Man.
I heard about that. And I heard people talk about it. I heard it's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Next up, we have Kevin Peter Hall, who's known for, obviously, The Predator. Is that the first Predator? I didn't notice on that. Or is it just the second one?
Well, he's playing the Predator in both of these.
Okay. He's also at Big Top Pee-wee, Without Warning, and Harry and the Hendersons, the TV show.
Right. because he's a big, tall person. He's also been on a TV show that I really liked called The Misfits of Science, where he played a dude that was tall and he wanted to be shorter because he's not an athletic person in that show, and he was tired of people asking about his athletics, so he created a chemical formula so that he could be shorter. But what it did was it made him shrink to the size of like a thumbnail. So,
oh man, that's nuts.
The formula,
I know,
worked too well.
Out of those three, I recognize Harrigan and the Hendersons because weren't they like Bigfoot? It was like a family of Bigfoot or something.
Yeah,
I thought so. I was like, I vaguely remember.
It's not a family Bigfoot. It's a family that adopts a Bigfoot. And it's based on a movie that starred Lithgow. What's his first name? Is it Larry Lithgow? No, it can't be Larry, is it? John Lithgow, I think that's his name.
Right, I have no idea.
So
on that one,
it starred John Lithgow and the lady that was on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I think. Don't remember. Anyways, it looked like a fun movie. I never saw it. I did see some episodes of the TV show, and it was charming.
Yeah.
So the next person is Ruben Blades. Oh, shoot. I said it wrong. Ruben Blades. That's his name. And he plays Detective Danny Boy Archuleta. Well, I knew I was going to. I should have rehearsed that name before I started because I was looking at it. I was like, yeah, this is going to be difficult, but I didn't try to rehearse it. So hold on. Let me try it again. Hold on. Let me pause. Archuleta. Okay. I got it. That was it. That was, as far as I'm concerned, his name is Danny Boy Archuleta. He was also in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Safe House, and Color of Night. He was good in this movie.
I know Once Upon a Time in Mexico, but I don't remember it. So I don't have to track that one down too. I'm like, I know this movie.
Right.
I just don't remember from where. Next up, we have Maria. I'm going to screw this one up. So here you go. Here's my screw up. Maria Conchita Alonso.
You did it. I was going to say I can help you out, but you did it perfectly. Excellent.
She plays as Detective Leona Cantrell. She's also in The Running Man, Spread, and Extreme Prejudice.
Yeah. I always liked her. She's been in a bunch of movies.
I think the only one I ever saw her in was Predator 2.
Right.
That's the only thing I remember her from. So.
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of movies, but most of the movies I'm not familiar with. Like, I'm not familiar with any of the other movies except for The Running Man. But I always like seeing her she's been on a few TV episodes. Like, if you're watching Law and Order, she'll probably show up or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people where like I haven't seen them in a lot of stuff. They always show up on either Law and Order or CSI.
Oh yeah. They got to do their rounds. Yeah, it's that time of year again. I got to do my detective show work.
Yeah.
So up next is Bill Paxton. He played Detective Larry Lambert, a.k.a. the Lone Ranger. He's been in Aliens, Frailty, and Apollo 13. We just did Apollo 13 a few episodes ago.
I got a slight correction for you. It's Jerry, not Larry.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, I said Larry.
You said Larry. I was like, I don't want to call him out, but I got to mention this.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I can't read. Oh, I can read sometimes.
Yeah, well, like I said, I jumble my words all the time.
Right,
so I'm sure at some point on the show I will, and then we'll be even.
Right.
But yeah, that was actually one of my favorite things about Bill Paxton is that he's in the sequel to Aliens and the sequel to Predator.
Right,
he's like the only person to be in both franchises.
Yeah, and he gets killed in both. He
gets killed in both.
And
I was like, if they ever wanted to reunite him, well, they're not reuniting him. Well, rest in peace because he passed away in real life in 2017.
Right.
But
and the funny thing is that he's not exactly the same character. In this one, in Predator 2, he's more like a kind of a hotshot detective, and he's confident and jokey and whatnot. In Aliens, he was like gung ho, and then he came up against the alien, and he's like, "We're all gonna die." He's famous for that. He was like, "Game over, man! Game over."
Yeah, he's like the annoying jokey character in both movies, but completely separate. Yeah, "We're all gonna die" is one of my favorite.
Right.
The funniest parts. We also have Robert. I'm gonna say Davi. I'm not gonna say Davy because it doesn't have an E at the end. So I'm just Robert Davi. It sounds so much more like I don't know. It sounds. I don't know what word I was looking for, so I'm just gonna move on for it.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, he plays as Captain Phil Heineman. He's also known for his work on Die Hard, License to Kill, and The Expendables 3. Those are all 3 big movies there.
Yeah. He stayed busy. All right. He's that rough face character. He's got like a really rough face. So it's like every time you see him, like in Die Hard, he was one of the the FBI guys that had gotten to the helicopter, and they was just going to shoot up Nakatomi Plaza, and he has that. Every time you see him, it's like, oh yeah, that is that guy, because his face is so rough. It's very distinctive. It was interesting.
Yeah,
go ahead.
He's the one that's always at odds with Danny Glover's character, right?
Yeah. In this movie, right?
That's what I remember. And he's the face where I'm like, I recognize him, but I never, like, I don't know what from. But
right.
It's like, when I see his face, I'm like, I know that guy's from something I've seen.
Right. Absolutely. Up next is Adam Baldwin. He plays Garber. He's been in Serenity, Independence Day, and Full Metal Jacket. What's interesting about Adam Baldwin is that he plays a type. He's always playing the authoritative government, police type. But what's awesome about him is that when he was in Serenity, he was totally playing against type. He's so different from everything that he ever plays that it seems like a different person. Like I always double check to see, wait a minute, is that Adam Baldwin? Because he's so different in Serenity, and he's so lovable. He's kind of like, what's his name in Guardians of the Galaxy? The one that Bautista plays. Drax, right. He reminds me of Drax the Destroyer.
Drax the Destroyer or something is, the whole name.
Right. They have a similar type of goofiness about him, but everything else, he's all straight-laced and serious. So that he's pretty amazing.
Which is funny because he was the same type, like detective type character in the X-Files as well.
Right, absolutely.
Because I remember looking him up because I was like, I've seen this guy's face before too. Whenever we were watching the movie, and I was like, oh, holy crap, he was in the X-Files.
Right.
Which is probably where I recognized him. Next up, we have Kent McCord, known as Captain B. Pilgrim in the movie. I don't remember that character's name at all. So this is going to be fun. He's also known for Airplane 2, the sequel, and Adam 12.
Yeah.
Some TV show I've never heard of.
So here's what's interesting in this movie, and I think it's kind of a technical error, because you have the first captain we read off, Captain Phil Heineman. So he's a captain, but then you have another captain named Captain B. Pilgrim, and he's like right above the lieutenant, Danny Glover, that plays Lieutenant Mike Harrigan. So you have a captain that's above a lieutenant. So you would think that the next rank would be like a colonel or a chief, or because he acted like a chief. He acted like, and I mean,
that's probably what he was supposed to be.
Right. Like Heineman, he's supposed to be like either a corporal or a chief or a district commander or something like that. He shouldn't be a captain. So it's kind of weird that's and I don't think they ever called him captain. I can't remember, but it's kind of weird that he's credited as a captain.
Yeah, I guess instead it's just the captain of my captain is my other captain.
Right. Absolutely. You said it correctly. And, so Captain B. Pilgrim, he was, or Kent McCord, he was the round face dude. He was the one that was, you got to stop this. You got to stop doing this, Harrigan. The city's on my ass about you.
Okay. Yeah, and he's like, I can't. So he's the one that's like, I can't let you in there.
Right.
Or whatever. And then he's just like, the rest of you go with
it. Right. No, not that dude. I remember him now. No, that's a different dude. Yeah, that's a different dude. The one I'm talking about is the dude that's in every time Harrigan. Is it Harrigan? Yeah, Harrigan. Every time Harrigan goes into the office, he meets with the captain with the white hair, and he has kind of a round face.
Okay.
It's that dude. And so...
Okay, so I got him mixed up with the other guy then.
And then...
See, there's too many captains.
Right, that's correct. So Kent McCord he's been on a lot of TV shows. He's mostly a TV actor, which is why I don't have a bunch of movies listed for him. But most people know him as one of the main characters in Adam 12. So Adam 12 is an old TV show. It's basically about two police officers, a police procedural, street cops, not street detectives. So just street cops in street uniforms, just doing regular police cop stuff like traffic stops and the initial investigation, just regular. And it was a super popular show. It had like 120 or something episodes, and they did a crossover with Dragnet, which is a show that's more known to people nowadays than Adam 12. So
yeah, I've never heard of Adam 12.
Yeah. So and I've never watched the episode, but I recognize it, and I recognize the dude. So moving right along, we have Morton Downey Jr. He played Tony Pope. He's been in Driving Me Crazy, but what I know him from is the Morton Downey Jr. show. You know anything about that?
No, I don't.
All right.
Was that a talk show?
Yes, it was a talk show. And that's the only, he's done a lot of stuff. Like he's been a musician. He's been in radio. He's been in a lot of stuff. But the only thing I know him as is in a Morton Downey Jr. show. He's been in a few TV shows and as, acting and movies. And so I think that reason that he was on Predator 2 is because of his TV show. And he was like
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And so he was like a shock jock television show. He's kind of like, if they put, oh shoot, I can't remember anybody's name now. Oh, what's that dude with the long hair and he talks to, I guess that's not a good clue. That's not,
yeah.
That's not helpful at all. It's like, yeah, there are lots of people with long hair. Well, let's just say I have his face. I can't remember his name. So let's just say that the dude was a shock jock, except he was on television. So it was like if you had I can't think of another name. I'm thinking of an actual Jerry Springer. So imagine if it was Jerry Springer, except he was screaming at people and cursed all the time. So it was like that. So, and he, got his audience all riled up. And I remember watching this show and I used to think it was super popular and I used to talk about it with people and people wouldn't know what I was talking about. So that informed me how popular it was. And then I come to find out it only had 18 episodes. Like, how could this show?
Oh, yes, it must not have been that popular.
I had no idea that. I thought it was on for decades, but it only had 18 episodes and I'm totally shocked. So
that's funny. You're watching reruns thinking they're
yeah. I had no idea. So let us know about the last actor.
All right, the last actor we have is Calvin Lockhart. He plays as King Willie in the film, which is the Jamaican gang leader.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, he's the leader of the Jamaican gang. He's also known for his works on Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, and Fire Walk with Me.
Well, that's the same movie. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's like a sequel to. I was like, I thought there was a Twin Peaks movie.
Yeah, the Twin Peaks movie is a continuation of the TV show. So it's called Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. And I had him here, even though he didn't really play a character that was all that much in the film, but his character was important, but the actor himself wasn't in there for very long. But he had a very famous Predator kill in the movie, and I had him because his face is so distinctive, and the way he spoke was so impactful. And I was like, I gotta include this guy because like when he's on the screen, he feels important, right?
Yeah, he was very like mystical.
Yeah, absolutely.
About this stuff whenever Harrigan encounters him in like that one alleyway.
Right.
He was like very mystical approach to it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's like that scene where he's in it, it always impacts me whenever I watch this movie. So I was like, let me put my boy Kevin Lockhart in there. He deserves some recognition. So
right.
Why don't you let us know who directed the movie?
The director is Taylor Hackford, which I wasn't familiar with the name, but I'm familiar with one of the movies you had listed on the list. There's Ray, Dolores Claiborne, The Devil's Advocate, which is the one that's a really good movie.
Right,
so that's the one I recognize. And Against All Odds. You know what?
I think I have another error. Hold on. I'm double checking now. Because there is a chance that this isn't the right director.
Oh, geez. There's like two directors with almost the same name.
No, I think because what happens is what I do is that I'll when I make a new document, I don't like make a new document from scratch. I just cut and paste over the old copy and then save it as a new document. And sometimes when I'm doing that, I'll miss one of the things that I'm supposed to type over. So right now I'm re-looking up Predator 2. Hold on a second. Because I want to get this right. I want to make sure that I have the correct director. Because I'm going over this, and when I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, that don't sound right. Yep, I got it wrong. The director is not Taylor Hackford. The director of Predator 2 is Stephen Hopkins.
Okay, I was going to say, because I was like, Devil's Advocate, this guy went on to do great things after his movie bombed.
Right. Yeah, so that's not him. But we're going to talk about Stephen Hopkins because I made a mistake. and let me see what he directed, because he got a lot of producer credits, but he also directed A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child.
Oh, snap.
I heard that was not good.
That's the least favorite, I think, out of the franchise. I love all of them, so it doesn't matter to me, but I think that was like the least favorite.
Right. Let me see the director credit. He did The Dark Tower 2020. Yeah, many people didn't like that.
It seems like people don't like his movies.
Well,
except for me, because I'm pretty sure I liked all three of them.
Right. Well, he's done some TV, which of shows that are generally good. But the thing about television is that television is the director's. I'm not the director's. It's the producer's medium. So when you're watching television shows, it's really the producer's vision and not necessarily the director's vision. So and then it's like they have his director's credit mixed up with his producer credit, because apparently he's more known for being a producer than a director. He directed a movie called Dangerous Games. I'm unfamiliar with that one. Oh, Judgment Night. That's one of my favorite movies. I definitely want to do that on the podcast. And Blown Away. I remember that one.
Okay, I know that one.
I remember that because I got it confused with one of the Patriot Games movies. So yeah.
Blown Away is awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. So, and if you hadn't watched Judgment Night, if you could find it somewhere, that's pretty good also.
I could probably find it somewhere.
So, so we corrected the director, ladies and gentlemen. Live on television, you have witnessed one of my faux pas. It's Stephen Hopkins and not Taylor Hackford. So moving right along, I did get this one right because I did some extensive research. It was written by Jim.
Nice.
It was written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas, and they were a brother writing team. They're a brother writing team. So most of their movies, or many of their movies, or at least some of their movies, they've written together as a team. So one of them is Mission to Mars, not great. Wild Wild West, also not great. Executive Decision, that was pretty good. I like the Executive Decision. Now, bad movies, I don't think really reflects on writers all that much because scripts get rewritten so often. Like, for example, you know that Mario Puzo wrote Superman from 1979, Christopher Reeve Superman.
Okay.
Yet Mario Puzo is the same guy that wrote The Godfather, the novel. The only problem with that is that the script was so thoroughly rewritten that almost nothing of what Mario Puzo originally wrote remains in the finished movie. But because of the way credits work in Hollywood, Mario Puzo is they're solely credited as a writer. So anybody that's did any rewrites, they're usually credited as producer or maybe script writer, or what's the other thing that they might use? Story contributor. They might use that, but they won't get the written by credit. But
interesting.
But in this one, I think this movie closely follows the vision that the Thomas brothers had, and like I said, I really liked it. It was enjoyable. Tell us about the composer. Who did the music?
The music was done by Alan Silvestri. He has 139 composer credits to his name. I feel like that's a lot of composer credits. Yeah. He must have worked on a lot of stuff. But most notably, Pinocchio 2022. Never saw it. I know it came out, but I didn't watch it.
Neither did
I. Flight, The A-Team from 2010, and Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, so
I guess those were the most notable.
Well, those are just the ones I recognize. I wouldn't necessarily say notable because he's written a lot of movies. Like he's written most of the Avenger movies, music, and stuff like that. So sometimes I like to get down to the stuff that people may not know him for. And Flight, that was a movie where Denzel Washington played a drunk and a drug addict, and he landed a plane, and that was an awesome movie. And
I'm gonna have to check that out because I like Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that's a great performance from him. And because he's like playing against type. Like normally when you watch a Denzel Washington movie, he's the dude that's got it all together. He's competent and he's serious. But in this movie, he's shifted away from that. He's not as competent as the other characters. So he's really good in this movie.
Was he also in that movie where like his son or somebody was in the hospital? and he started stealing stuff. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I just remember it was like a really, really good movie that Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that movie is John Q, and that's basically where he holds a hospital hostage in order to give, because the American healthcare system is so messed up that he takes a hospital hostage in order to give medical care for his son.
Right. Such a good movie, though.
Yeah. And he's been in a bunch of great movies. And then the A-Team, I like that movie. Sadly, it did do well at the box office, so they're never going to make any sequels from it, but I truly enjoyed that movie because it was both faithful to the original TV series, and I thought everybody did a great job. And the story was cool. The cool thing about the story was that I don't know if they ever showed the story of why they were on the run from the government, but this movie was kind of like an origin story of why they were on the run from the government in the first place. And that was pretty cool. So
I don't think I ever saw the movie. I think I just remember the show because it had Mr. T.
Yeah.
I like very vaguely remember that.
Right. And then in this movie they had an Ultimate Fighter playing Baracus. Is it Baracus? B.A. Baracus. I'm still confused. I don't know if it's Baracus, and I want to say Barbarous, but I don't think it's Barbarous. I'm pretty sure it's B.A. Baracus.
It's like a combination of the two. Barbaracus.
Right. So he was playing Mr. T's part, and he did a great job. I really loved him in that role. And what's that dude to play Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy? I'm forgetting everybody's name.
Yeah, I don't know the voice actor. For Rocket. Sorry,
he was in A Star Is Born. Shoot, see, right now the audience is screaming at us. Why don't you look it up? You looked up the director. You know what? We're not doing a movie on A-Team. We're not doing a show.
Yeah,
on
we're doing The Predator.
Right, we're doing The Predator. So I don't need to know him. It just bugs me that I don't know. So I'm not gonna look him up. But you know who I'm talking about. That dude did a great job. That's the first time I recognized him as a great actor. And then all the other guys was just great. Anyways, we're moving right along. Wasting time.
That kind of happens. I tend to have that effect on people.
Right. I'm running off at the mouth. I'm going on tangents. Let's get some announcements in, because that's it for the opening credits. And if you're enjoying this show, remember that you can get t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, face masks, jerseys, and more at our website, backclickcinema.com/shop. I know what you're saying. You're saying, but she hasn't come out with a design in a long time, and you would be right. And I have some designs in the hopper, and I know I've told you that before, and I'll get to it eventually. I just made some of my most beloved cookies, the Mexican hot chocolate snickerdoodle. I mean, I didn't make up the recipe. I just found the recipe on the internet. So if you're wondering why I can't get these designs done, it's because I'm baking cookies. That's the excuse I'm going with. So I have one of the things that I like for Tony to listen to is the faux ad that I came up with. You heard one of my faux ads from last episode, so I'm going to play another one, and I'm going to get here. I hope I pressed the right button. And this is primed to be a mistake, but I'm going to press this button, and hopefully it's the right one.
Friends, there's a beverage coming up with the horizons that's going to give you that sweet, full-bodied taste you've always wanted. It's got that caffeine that'll put a pep in your step. It's got that flavor that'll make your mouth go pop. It's got that sweetness that'll make you forego all other refreshments. That's right, folks. We're talking about Nuka-Cola that's being developed in our labs right now. Our focus groups have determined that Nuka-Cola is the greatest soft drink ever developed, and with an excessive amount of caffeine and 120% the recommended daily amount of sugar, Nuka-Cola is guaranteed to keep you awake for your late-night gaming sessions. This amazingly delicious and refreshing drink, whether served ice cold, lukewarm, or hot out of the microwave, is perfect for those overnight drives from New York City to Denver, Colorado. Nuka-Cola will go perfectly with everything from medium steak and potatoes to cheesecake and popcorn. It's great for all occasions, from bar mitzvahs to funerals. It's yummy for all ages, from premature babies to your 101-year-old grandma. That's right, folks. Nuka-Cola is on its way, and it's the greatest soft drink that you've ever tried. Nuka-Cola. It just tastes good.
And we're back with that brilliant ad from Nuka-Cola. Definitely worth a try. Have you tried Nuka-Cola?
That was awesome. I have it outside of the Fallout universe. But the amount of caffeine sounds good to me.
Right. I'm glad you got the reference. I'm pleased by
of
that.
course.
That was one of my.
I'm a big Bethesda guy, so the second I heard Nuka-Cola, I was like, "Oh, Fallout, nice reference."
Yeah, I played one Fallout game, and I can't even remember which one it was, but I had a blast playing that game. It was so fun, and I love the references to Nuka-Cola and all the other like products that they had.
Yeah, they have a lot of weird ones.
Right.
Like they have I want to say they have like a Salisbury steak one, but it's called something else.
Right,
too. Like some
right.
of the food items are really weird stuff.
Right. Yeah, so just having a blast. So
yeah, that was cool. I liked it.
Oh,
the 120% over the recommended value of caffeine.
Right.
That was good. And then I liked the heat it up in the microwave.
Yeah.
I was like, I like that touch.
So here's something interesting. There's actually a cookbook that you can get that has recipes for the various flavors of Nuka-Cola.
Nice. Yeah, I know that there's one for Elder Scrolls out there. I knew about that one. I didn't know about the Fallout.
Right. So I guess if you look that one up, some dude did a YouTube video where he made these recipes at home. So I was like, I'm curious. I might try to do these, but you need like
they're probably good.
Probably or probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. It depends.
I am definitely curious, and I'm curious about trying it out. But let's move right along. We're gonna talk about our favorite parts of Predator 2. Tony Z, what were your favorite parts?
I guess most notably for me is the train scene, which is where a bunch of gang members. I mean, it's gang members throughout the whole film, so they're not a segment of either of the main two gangs, but they're like bullying like this nerdy looking guy, and they want whatever's in his briefcase, and he pulls out the gun. He's like, I know how to use it. Then they pull out their guns, and then like everybody on the train just pulls out a gun.
Right.
I'm like, this entire train is just armed. And then of course, lights go out, train goes crazy, Predator shows up, and basically just slaughters everybody.
Right.
But that was one of my notable scenes, because that was like where it leaned more into like a horror aspect in that scene than an action aspect, because of like the flashing lights and everything turn it off, and the Predator is cloaked mode, so he's just like slaughtering everybody.
Right.
And of course, that inevitably leads to the killing of Bill Paxton's character.
Right.
Rest in peace.
Right. Rest in peace. That the death of the Lone Ranger. Yeah, I really like that. That's also one of my favorite scenes. It's definitely impactful, very skillfully shot. But I had some notes, like other than it being
nice.
Like a Republican fever dream, because it was like, oh look, see, everybody's armed. See, it's a polite society. So
and it was all old people too. Did you notice that?
That was fun.
Like
I remember
70s and 80s.
I remember how impactful I was when I saw that. I was like, "Ooh, look! Everybody's got guns. So everybody has to behave, right?" But see, the funny thing is that then, so Bill Paxton's character, the Lone Ranger, he's on a train with his partner detective. And they have to pull out their guns, and he's trying to calm everybody down. It's like, how do you calm down when everybody's pointing guns at each other? Yeah, and he's not actually dressed as a police officer; he's plain clothes. So why should anybody listen to him? That's kind of tough. But that was a cool part of the scene. But that's not what I wanted to talk about as being the notes. The notes actually come in when the Predator, like everybody is pretty much dead, and the Lone Ranger, the detective, he is the last person on the train, and he's shooting at the Predator. And the Predator is just slowly walking towards him. And then, the Predator finally kills him, and does he behead him? I think he beheads him.
I think he does. Seems like a lot of people get beheaded in this movie.
The Predator is taking trophies, and he's enjoying it. But see, here's the thing. So Jerry Lambert is shooting at the Predator, but then later on in the film, when the Predator gets shot, it's effective. Like he gets hit. And I think even in the previous film, the previous Predator, if he got shot, then he was hurt and he needed to fix up. He needed to get his medical kit and scream and whatnot. So
yeah, which he does do later.
Right, which he does do. But it's like he had his arm cut off. So I guess he needed to heal that.
Yeah, I guess so. He definitely screamed on that
Right.
one.
It's like in the previous film, he healed himself from being shot. So we need to do something more extreme in this sequel. So we're going to cut his entire arm off.
Got his whole arm
Right.
off. Yeah.
So, but that's the thing. It's like, how is he just absorbing these bullets in this train scene? But in later scenes, it's like he's not absorbing bullets anymore. So
I just took it as the Lone Ranger was a horrible shot and missed
I
every shot.
yeah, right. But I hate to think that, because it's like, it's one thing to be a horrible shot, and you would be horrible if the object was like maybe 100 feet away and basically invisible, and you're like in an open field. But he was in a train. The only place he could point his gun was ahead of him, and then you can kind of see the outline of the camouflage. It's not perfect camouflage. It's like, but it's probably it is the best camouflage money could buy. But it's like, if you're directly in front of a person, then what good is that camouflage?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and it's obviously not the best, because there's a couple scenes like the little kid sees him in
right,
the tree later on.
Right.
So people can see him in certain
Well,
parts.
even the first detective, like when the Predator first appeared, Danny Boy saw him, or even like the gangs, the gangs that kind of seen him, right? But basically, they saw something that was like a glitch, like something didn't look right. It was like, oh, I thought I saw something. Oh, I guess it was nothing. Even Detective Mike Harrigan, even he saw him when he was on the roof, or he thought he saw something. So yeah, it's not, but like I said, it may not be perfect, but it's the best camouflage money can buy. As long as he doesn't move, he's basically invisible. So it was like he's directly ahead. He's eating all of these bullets, and then he kills the Lone Ranger. So that was it. But like when I first watched the movie, didn't bother me at all. Like it wasn't a problem. But when I watched it now, I was like, wait a minute, we got to examine this.
Yeah, he's just like deflecting everything.
Right. We got to examine this faux pas.
maybe their armor got better from the first film, or they like learned from the. I mean, I highly doubt that was in the writing.
Right. The funny thing about
I'm just looking to retcon this.
Right. Yeah. It forces you to write the movie, and that's not fair to us. But still, it was still a wonderful scene. I really liked that. So, I like the setting. So what they explained in the first movie, and they made it basically consistent. So this is actually taking place in the future. This movie came out in 1990, but it's set in 1997. So in a so-called not too distant future. So in a not too distant future, everybody's packing like gigantic guns. You could tell that it's in the future when you look at all of the weaponry that the police had. Like it had
because it's like the tech is like not normal guns.
Right. They had all of these fancy attachments to it. So in the city, it's 109 degrees, and that's due to climate change, what they used to call global warming. Warming, back when global warming wasn't as controversial as it was today.
It's a big thing now.
Now, if a movie like that came out today, people would be so mad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, apparently they were still mad because the movie bombed. But
I mean, I don't even think that was a factor. But as a movie bombing, I think it's I think people wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that's why. Because he was the star of the first movie, and he wasn't dead. So he could have came back, but he didn't want to come back. But it's like they wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger. Instead, they got Danny Glover. It's like, I wanted ice cream, and instead you gave me spinach. And I tell you, it's not like...
But Danny Glover is freaking awesome.
Right.
So.
It's like, no.
Of course, for like me, I'm like, I love it.
Right. I love spinach. Spinach is awesome, but I wanted some ice cream.
Yeah. Spinach gives you those muscles like Popeye, though.
Right. So, and so the setting is Los Angeles, 109 degrees. So they had to make it a heat wave because the Predator is supposed to only come in the summertime or whenever it's hot. So they generally show up on the equator or something like that. So they tried to keep it in line with the established lore. So I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I wrote Predator POV. I don't remember what I was referring to when I wrote that.
Maybe it's like the beginning of the city because he's watching the firefight and you kind of get his point of view from all the heat signatures.
Right.
That might have been what you were talking about.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. I did like that. I liked that it's not just that he's watching it with the thermal projections, but it's basically his perspective on the human civilization. And I like that.
And it does that like several times throughout the movie, you get like the predator vision. That's what I like to call it, where it like shifts to his perspective.
Right. It's the predator vision. It's cool. Him sampling speech.
Yeah. That was pretty. That's what I like in all of them. How he can just mimic other people's voices.
Right. But it seems like he understands what people are saying. Near the end of the movie, when he actually spoke words, it's like, wait, man, he knows what that means. He's not just repeating shit.
Oh, that was another one of my favorite ones, and I felt like that was an Easter egg from the first film, because the final encounter with Arnold is he calls him an ugly MRFer in that part.
Right.
So when Danny Glover's about to say it and he finishes the sentence, I was like, oh, that's a good callback to the first film.
Oh, and another one was it was the funniest part about the first Predator movie is when the first Predator, when Arnold encounters him, Arnold says, "What the hell are you?" And the Predator looks back and says, "What the hell are you?" And then
he says it back.
Right. And when I watched that part, I was watching it with my grandmother on VCR, and she said, my grandmother was a church lady. You never heard her curse, like one time. It's like she would only say the curse words that are allowed in the Bible. She was that type of person.
Right.
And she didn't get overly angry or anything. It was like, she was, if you picture that meek and calm and loving church person, that was my grandma. But then she shocked me when she said, "Did he say, 'What the hell are you?'" I was like, "Yeah, Granny, that's exactly what he said."
That's funny.
So, yeah. Then I wrote that it was hardcore. I don't remember what I was doing. See, maybe I should have rewatched the movie.
Well, the news guy.
Yes, you're right.
Their channel was called Hardcore.
I love that show, the Hardcore Show with Robert Downey Jr. You're helping me out. I'm glad you just watched it. You said you was gonna watch it today. So
yeah, that's why.
Right.
So I could actually recall stuff.
Yeah, I wrote the note down thinking that they was gonna come back. And I forgot. Thank God that you're here to help me out. So, and then I like the intro of, when the Lone Ranger is trying to introduce himself to the station, and then he meets, and then he meets, Detective Leona Cantrell, and she grabs him by the balls because, he's talking too much crap. So she grabs him by the balls.
Yeah. And they're joking in the office. They're saying that's his first mistake.
Right. That whole scene was cool. Well, what's another one of your favorite parts?
There's a scene, and it's like you almost don't catch it if you're not paying attention. But when Harrigan is chasing the Predator and he kind of drops down off the elevator and first into like kind of like a subway system section, there's a part there where Predator just rips the person's head and spine completely out of their body, and it's just kind of in passing. You just kind of see the silhouette of him ripping it, and then it keeps going on. I thought that was pretty cool. That was like almost like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Yeah,
he just rips the head and the spine out.
Right. But
I thought it was cool because it was just a glimpse of
it. That is exactly a Mortal Kombat fatality, specifically Sub-Zero.
Yeah, Sub-Zero. Yep. That's probably why I like it.
Right. And then there was a reference to somebody else said, "Oh man, he took his head and his spine." Like, so it's a habit of his. Yeah. He habitually takes the head and the spine. And then when you get to a spaceship, you see heads and spines still connected. At least the human one.
It shows him like polishing them up and like cleaning them off. Right. So he takes real pride in those trophies.
Right, taking pride in his collection.
Yeah, but that was one of the first ones because like the other ones that, like I was saying, it shows them get beheaded, but like that one just shows the silhouette, the whole thing and it's not even like a beheading; it's just like ripped straight off.
Right.
And then it never clarifies why he killed that person. Like it doesn't show any guns around them or anything. Right. And usually the Predator only kills those who are armed.
Right.
So I'm like, what did that person do to take him off?
Yeah, had to have been armed. So and basically,
it had to be somehow.
All of the. And as we know, in that time period, everybody is armed. So it must have been armed. Yeah. So I liked all of the killing bloodbath moments when the Predator is introduced. So in the very first shootout, when the Predator makes his appearance, and the gang, they are able to hole up in a house or the apartment building, and they're getting all of their guns ready, and they're about to do reinforce their attack or defense against the police department. And then next thing you know, the predator is watching all of this, of them getting ready, and then he just jumps down in a fray and just start destroying all of them. He got fancy new weapons. He has an extendable spear. He's got this, I don't know, this weird spike thing that he tosses at people. It looks like a tiny little claw thing. Don't know what it is, but it looks neat.
Is that the thing that it gets lodged up in the? Because that's how Danny Boy gets killed. He's fishing the thing out of the wall that gets stuck in the wall, and then he's just like Danny Boy, in Harrigan's voice, and that was why I called back to the mimicking the voice.
Right. And then the nets. He has a net that it's like a spider.
That thing is nuts.
It's like a deadly Spider-Man web.
Well, it's like another. I hate to keep bringing up Mortal Kombat, but it's like a Mortal Kombat because what was it, Cyrax?
I don't know.
One of those.
Yeah, it's one of the androids. Robot
ones. Yeah, they would shoot the thing out.
Right.
So it's like everything reminds me of Mortal Kombat.
Right.
And Predator was an extra character in a Mortal Kombat game. So there we go.
Absolutely. So yeah,
they're officially canon in each other's universes, in my opinion.
Yeah, he does all of his kills. There's that one when he's in one of the gangs hideout. So what happened was you had the Scorpion gang. I guess it's a Scorpion gang, and they're being
that's the first one.
Right. I can't remember. It was at nighttime. So the Jamaican gang, they come in and they're asking for payment for King Willie. So maybe it wasn't the Scorpion gang, but they ask because the Scorpions and King Willie's gang are supposed to be at war. So I guess
they're at odds.
Right.
So I think the Scorpions were the first.
Yeah, they're the first
ones. Jumps down from this, and then the Jamaicans are killing that guy like right after he was like having sex with that girl.
Right.
They,
right. So
I think that's the Jamaicans killing him.
Right. That's the Jamaicans killing him. But I don't think that it's that dude that got killed was related to the Scorpions. I think he's a different player. So maybe he's like,
I don't know who he is. I think he's just some random dude that owes money or something.
He's just a pimp or something. So he's in with his lady who's naked, I think, the entire time. And then,
and so is he.
Right.
Just hanging upside down. Naked.
Right. Yeah. They get him. They say, well, it's too late for you to try to pay back King Willie. We got to kill you to send a message or whatever. And then hang him upside down, pour blood on him. They're trying to do this ritual. And next thing you know, that the Predator comes and interrupts everybody. It's like, they're just trying to do a voodoo ritual. What are you doing, man? It's like, you couldn't let him finish the ritual? No. Everybody got to die because y'all aren't.
And what's funny about that is he does them the way they did the other guy, hangs them all upside down naked.
Yeah.
But like he strips them of their skin completely. I don't know, like I picked up on that because you only see you don't see their skin, you see like the muscle and the stuff under it. So somehow he rips all their skin off.
Yeah.
But he didn't pull their spines out because I think they all still had their heads.
Yeah, they still had their heads. Yeah, he was being different.
Their skin. He was being Leatherface.
Yeah. He was either Leatherface or the dude from Silence of the Lambs, that dude, Buffalo Bill. He was Buffalo Billing them.
Yeah. But I did find, I was like, he definitely knows what's going on because he's just like, I'm gonna hang them upside down the way they did to this guy and just take him out. But the girl, once again, wasn't armed.
Right.
So he spared her.
So and the funny thing is that I said Buffalo Bill him, so you could picture the Predator saying, "Put the lotion on. Rub the lotion on your skin."
Put the lotion in the basket in like the Predator voice.
and then he I don't know the official term for unskinning of people, but he unskins them.
I just call it skinning them.
Right.
That's what I call it skinning, because isn't that like when you're hunting or whatever, which I don't do, but I think they just call it skinning the.
Right.
So I would take it as the same.
Yeah. I defer to that because I don't remember. So another part that I like, you actually had kind of referred to it earlier. So there's kind of what I like to call the ET moment. So the ET moment is when they're out in the field and the little kid sees that shape, that invisible shape, that's the Predator. And it's like he's offering the Predator candy or something like that.
Yeah, he says, "Want some candy?"
Right. Oh, because the Predator.
And then Predator mimics that voice too, because he does the "Want some candy" in this weird Predator voice.
Because he was going to shoot that kid because the kid pulled out a toy gun.
Yeah, it was a toy gun, but I thought he was legit going to kill him too,
right.
Like, and his little heat signature, it shows up as looking like a real gun. I was like, "Oh no, kid!"
Right. So there's also so that when he encounters, we talked about the train, but there was a one part on the train where we found that the Predator wouldn't kill, what's her name? Leona Cantrell, even though she was armed because she was pregnant. Like he was going to kill her, and then he did his heat thing, and he's like, "Well, she's pregnant, so I'm not going to kill her." So,
which is kind of a cool touch,
right. He has a strict ethical
he's got
code,
some sympathy, some compassion,
right? Well, I think it's his sense of fairness. Like it's not fair. Yeah, because he's only doing it for sport. This is just a.
That's what it's the hunt.
Right,
it's all about the hunt.
He's
so
on
like
safari.
People that can't defend themselves, or
right.
Which is what was funny about the train, because it's like he killed all these technically innocent old people, but they all had guns.
Right.
That's why they got killed.
They're definitely fair game. So, I just noticed this. I didn't. It's like one of the things that I never noticed in the earlier viewings, but on the computer screen when we meet what's his name, Peter Keyes, when we finally find out what his deal was, that he wasn't actually a DEA agent, he was a government official hunting the Predator. He knows that the Predator is alien. So on his computer screen,
space suit,
so
it looks like an astronaut.
Right. So on his computer screen was OWLF, and it stands for Otherworld Life Forms. I was like, oh, here we go.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
I never even see. This is probably my second or third time, because I watch this movie all the time, but I never even picked up on that.
Right. So, because I feel like lots of sci-fi movies, whenever they're, doing their alien type of movie, when there's an alien encounter movie, they like to come up with their own version of alien. So they don't strictly say alien. They come up with, there was a TV show called ALF, and it was called ALF because it was actually an acronym for alien life form, or they'll say extraterrestrial. That's another one too, or extra.
Yeah, that's a real world.
Yeah, extra being or whatever. So I thought that was neat. Otherworld life form.
Or like in movies like Aliens, the xenomorphs, they just call them bugs because they're insects.
Well, not exactly an alien encounter. They're just the enemy at that point.
Yeah, they're just the enemy. They're just bugs.
Right.
Same with Starship Troopers. They're just bugs.
Right, just bugs. This place crawls. Kill these bugs.
Yep. Another movie I love going back to.
All right, so another Predator scene. When you mentioned. Well, we was alluding to the team that dresses up in their space suits, and they go into the meatpacking plant where they know the Predator comes to feed.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I had trouble figuring out what that was. I was like, I feel like this is like some weird underground government facility.
No,
I never picked up that it was a meat plant. That makes more sense now.
Yeah, so the old WLF team, they had a trailer outside. That's where they were basically setting up. They were setting up outside the meat plant. And so the meat plant is where it was basically a warehouse where companies would hang their beef to get it ready for market. And the Predator decided, well, this is where I'm going to hang out. I ain't got to hunt for food. I can just eat this meat that just laying up here in these slabs.
Yeah, just laying there.
And that team figured it out. So when the Predator came back and they knew the Predator was back, they was going to go in there, and they had this trap set up, and they was going to capture them an alien. They didn't want to kill him. They was going to capture him. So that whole scene where they did that with all the suspense and the action, I really love that part. But there's another note I got to make about that one. So in this scene, you see them with their so-called UV light. Now, by definition, UV lights aren't lights that we're supposed to be able to see.
Yeah, they're not flashlights like that.
Right. They look like flashlights, but UV lights in real life, they're outside the visible spectrum. Now, fun fact, I was deployed to Iraq for OIF 3. I was in the Army National Guard. And so we had an actual UV flashlight. It was very large. I guess because of the power requirements required to power the thing, or it's either the power requirements or the fact that it was a very powerful flashlight. So if you were to at night, if you were to point something turn it on and point at something, you wouldn't see anything. You wouldn't see any light. It would just, you wouldn't be able to,
Right.
you can't even tell if the thing is on or off. But if you turn on your night vision goggles, because that's what they're used to work with, you put on your night vision goggles, you turn your goggles on, and then you turn the light on, and it's like a gigantic spotlight. You can see everything, because you can already see very well with the NVGs, but when you turn on the spotlight, it's like a spotlight from a helicopter. It was amazing.
That's crazy.
So
I wonder if maybe that's how they tried to tie it into Predator. But he does thermal vision, not night vision, so that's still
right.
Sense.
So the Predator used thermal vision.
Here I am trying to retcon again.
Right.
I'm like, maybe Predator is seeing a night vision.
Well, see, that was the thing. It was supposed to defeat the Predator's night vision because it's supposed to be outside of the visible spectrum, but they messed that up
right.
by using flashlights and just use regular flashlights. But I get why they did that. They did that because they're dealing with the audience. It would confuse the audience to see these guys wearing flashlights and then the flashlights not coming on. So
yeah, not seeing the light.
But they could have just explained that to the audience, but they didn't. And they could have worn NVGs, but they didn't wear the NVGs. So now you have some inaccurate representation of real world technology. But I did like that scene. It was still a good scene. I like that.
Yeah, it was a cool scene because he's like, he's right there.
Right.
It's like, where is he? He
Right.
drops down on him, cool.
They couldn't see him because they're in a warehouse and the lights are off and they weren't prepared. And
nope, not at all.
Right. And the funny thing is that they thought that they had the Predator dead to rights. They said, well, he can only see in infrared. He can only see heat. So we're going to wear these suits that hide our heat signatures. And then we're going to come around and we're going to capture him and we're done. But what they didn't realize is that it's probably not his natural eyes to seeing the heat. He's switching the technology so he can see in different spectrums. And then he was able to spot the flashlights, the infrared light, which is the thing that you could probably do, right? Because if you weren't...
Well,
go ahead.
In the first one, that is how Arnold gets him. Because remember, Arnold's character covers himself in mud and they can't see.
Right.
But you got to think, this is in the future. They've probably improved their technology by now. They're like, oh, he killed one of us by us not being able to see in the cold. So they would obviously naturally advance as well.
Right. I think what it was is that even if, I don't know if the Predator had his helmet on where he could change his vision in the first Predator, but I think
he did, but I think it gets knocked off at some point. So you might be right. That might have been after the helmet was gone.
Right.
When he did that.
There's two things that I was thinking about. One is that in the first movie, he didn't notice that like the mud was moving. Right. So Arnold was hiding in the mud. The Predator didn't realize that Arnold was there in the first place. But in the second movie, the second Predator could hear them walking around. Like he's not a dummy.
Oh, yeah.
Right. He's like, there's something going on here. I hear movement, but I can't see anything. So when he realized that there was something going on, that he could hear people moving, then that's when he started switching his vision. And then he could see the flashlights or the UV light. And then he figured out that they're trying to trap him, and he was able to take him out. And
that's where Harrigan screwed up too, because he comes running in there, exploding doors and screaming. And I'm like, if you just snuck in, he wouldn't have known you were there, and you probably could have taken him out.
Right. Probably.
Then you're just blowing the door off, and you're just like, here I am.
Right. I think that Harrigan was going for the shock and awe of it, shock and awe technique.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course, that did lead to another one of my favorite kills is when Gary Busey gets killed by the disc.
Yes,
because he's acting all like he's all tough. He's like, "I got you now," or whatever, because he's spraying him with the cold stuff.
Right,
and then you just see his look of shock, and then there goes his hand.
Right. It cuts his entire body in half. That's
yeah. Oh, I thought it was just his head. Yeah, I guess it was his whole body.
He didn't even go for his body. He cut his entire his head. He cut his entire body in half. Fun fact: I will cover a lot of this in the trivia, but that is called the smart disc.
That's it.
Smart disc. I like the name of that weapon. It's like a smartphone, except it cuts you in half.
Yeah, it kind of travels on it's almost like a homing device too, because you just target with throw it and it'll just hit whatever.
That is until you lose it. I guess if you're not in possession of it after a certain amount of time, then it just I guess anybody can claim ownership of it.
Yep, like Mike Harrigan.
Right. This is my new dad now.
You can just chop off your arm with it because you have no defense against your own technology.
Right. So what other scenes did you like?
Well, that was it right there. Well, that whole scene from that part where he's chasing him, but like he cuts his arm off, whatever, because that's one of the first scenes where you see like the Predator with. He says it without saying it with his eyes, where it's like the oh crap moment.
Yeah.
Because he realizes he has it. But I like that he's like that the Predator is just in this old couple's bathroom,
right?
Is screaming at the top of his lungs,
right?
And the lady's just like, Herb, there's somebody in the bathroom. And I'm like, why are you going to approach the bathroom? If I heard anything that sounded like that, I'd be calling the cops. I would,
right, absolutely.
I would not be approaching the bathroom.
Also, why isn't Herb waking up? He doesn't hear that. He doesn't. That dude is making a lot.
Because that was loud.
The Predator is making a lot of noise. He's screaming. It's like he's applying this apparently painful stuff. Painful and hot, stuff to his open wounds.
And probably asbestos or something, because it's coming from like all the stuff crumbled in the walls.
Right.
So he's essentially like poisoning his blood with whatever is in that as well.
Right. Well,
but yeah, it was funny to me because she gets like right by the door and he screams again, and it's something out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And then she just has a broom, and I'm like, your broom's not going to do anything.
Right. And then the Predator walks out. And then I think when Harrigan comes in...
He punches out.
Yeah, he goes through the wall.
He punches through the wall.
Right, he goes through the door, and then he punches through the door, and he punches through another door trying to escape. And then Harrigan comes in. And I forgot what he says. He says something about, like, I'm going to get him.
It's okay, I'm a cop. And she says, I don't think he gives a crap.
Right.
Well, obviously, she doesn't say crap. But
right.
Which was, that was another funny line. She's just like, I don't think he gives a crap.
Right. Yeah, I liked the dialogue in this film. I thought the dialogue is cute. All of the jokes that they were telling each other. I like that Danny, the cop, was called Danny Boy, the little nickname that he had. It was like a lot of the dialogue I really enjoyed. Which
reminded me of Karate Kid.
Yeah.
The Danny Boy reference reminded me of Karate Kid for some reason.
I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought that, Danny Glover is playing a cop and he's calling a character Danny Boy.
Yeah, Danny Boy. It's just pretty funny.
So yeah, I liked that's why I like King Willie. I liked his little speech about being prepared and stuff like that. And then that's like another great kill. He's killed off screen, but what happens is that after he talks to Harrigan, after he talks to Harrigan, he sees the Predator and he takes out the sword because he's no help at all. He doesn't give Harrigan any information that Harrigan doesn't already know, right?
Yeah, which is the funny part about that dialogue, is just telling him everything he already knows.
So he pulls out his sword from his sword cane. And then the Predator approach. And then next thing you know, the Predator is just walking away with the head. And it's like, I love that. That was a great scene.
It's cool, but it also sucks because when he pulls out the sword, you think you're going to get some like epic fight scene. It's just like, nope.
Yeah, he pulls out his sword. It switches to a wide shot. You hear a scream. And then it's like you see his head and then you see his head again. Or his face again, but this time it's the Predator carrying his head. So it was like, that's pretty nice. I like that. It was like,
I swear it seems like most of my favorite scenes are every kill in the
yeah.
It's just a kill count.
That's why we watch these movies, especially a movie like Predator or pretty much any horror movie or horror action movie. All the kills that you get the same feeling out of Predator, like the or even the anxiety some of the guys have when they're trying to fight the Predator. Like one of the my favorite things from the first Predator movie is Bill Duke when he was going around talking about, I'm going to have me some fun. I'm going to have me some fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have me some fun.
Constantly.
Because the dude's mind is gone at that point. His mind is gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Yep. Yeah. One thing I didn't touch on with the second one also is I like how they introduced Mike Harrigan, where he's just like speeding like a madman in his car.
Yeah.
And I like that scene too because it's like the shootout and he just throws body armor in the windows and like backs up to where the door just rips off and he's like steering the car. I'm like, there's no way you'd survive this.
Right.
But it was a pretty cool little scene.
He jumps in like Super Cop and it was a great introduction.
Yeah.
I also was interested in the fashion of it because it seemed like everybody was wearing baggy clothes, and I was like, "Oh, so that's what the future is now. We're all wearing parachute pants in the future."
Yeah.
So, you got any more favorite scenes?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I'd put it. I feel like my favorite scenes were basically the entire movie.
Right. Well, I got one last favorite scene I want to talk about, and that is the ending. It's like the best ending of pretty much most of the Predator movies. Like people may not have liked this
Right.
movie, but it had the best ending of it, and the best there where you had talked about how he goes into like a either a sewer or an unused subway tunnel.
I got the two confused because at one point he goes in the subway tunnel, but I mixed them up because when he drops from the elevator is when he lands on the spaceship.
Right. He lands on a spaceship.
And I got those two mixed up.
And the spaceship it looks like it's in an unused subway tunnel or a sewage. It's hard to say for sure where it's at, but he goes and it's
below an elevator shaft is all.
Right. Somehow the elevator shaft is above this tunnel, so that it's so wild. And he falls down, he gets in there and he starts walking through. So now we see the alien spacecraft for the first time. Like we didn't get any hint of that in the first movie. So this is awesome because I like how it adds to the lore. So he's walking through there and then the walls of the spacecraft look kind of organic and they've got some intricate markings on there.
Oh yeah.
And he sees the trophy room where all of these skulls is at, and then he runs into what they call him the city hunter. And when people talk about this movie, they talk about the city hunter as opposed to the jungle hunter from the first movie.
That makes sense.
So he runs into the city hunter. I don't get deep into the lore, but if you get deep enough, you discover the name of the species and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But he runs into the city hunter. They do some fighting for a while. It was a great action sequence. He cuts him up with the smart disc because that's like his best weapon.
Yeah, well, at first he's getting his crap handed to him by that predator.
Yeah,
he's getting the crap out of it.
And as a matter of fact, what happens, he's lying on the ground and the predator's about to, do him in, and he just so happens to grab a smart disc. And
smart disc again.
And then he rips the predator from rooter to tutor, as we say.
Yep. Right through the stomach.
Right. He really digs into the stomach of the predator, and the predator
somehow the predator still had not learned its lesson to not leave its smart disc laying around.
Right. So and then he thinks he's done, and then the other predators come out. That's what makes this such a great scene.
I forgot about that. So when you touched on it, that's a really cool scene because then they all come out and float. And my wife noted in that scene that one of them almost looked like it was a female. It could have just been a female actress playing in like a predator suit, but one of them was like smaller than the rest of them.
Right.
So they were like different sizes, and I thought that was kind of cool too.
Right.
Because I was like, I never thought about there possibly being like female predators.
Right, absolutely. So you have all of these just appearing out of their camouflage and approaching them, and then like the main one, because now the lieutenant is like, which one of you is next or whatever? He's
just like, whatever, let's just do this.
Full of bravado, right? And so the main predator, he's like, he just pulls one of his trophies out, happens to be an ancient pistol. What do you call it? It's a flintlock, but I'm trying to musket.
I just call it a cool looking gun.
Right. He pulls out this ancient musket and tosses it to the detective, and then they all walk away. They pull their fallen comrade out because it's like he's showing mad respect to Harrigan
like,
now.
You killed one of ours. Congratulations.
Right.
It seems like in other movies where there's multiple predators, it's kind of the same thing. Like when you survive the one, they have respect. Except the one weird one where the alien, I think it's the first Alien versus Predator, where like the predator turns on his own race and stuff. That one's a little weird. But
the first one, it was like the predator basically teams up with the human and basically to fight off the aliens, because the aliens is like they're near alpha level opponents. And that was another cool thing, especially back in when you first saw this movie, was when they showed the trophy room and they revealed the alien skull. It was like, and we were all speculating, really cool. Is that the alien skull? Because it was at this time, it had already been imagined that you would have an Alien versus Predator, because we've seen the Alien versus Predator comics that already come out. And there's speculation that, like, what if they do this in the movie? This would be cool if they did this in the movie. And they alluded that it was a possibility by revealing the alien skull as one of the skulls in the trophy room. And so that was awesome.
Yeah.
So that was another.
And then that movie is like the first I don't know if it's the first in the Predator, like, I think Predator is probably the first, like, in the chronological timeline, but in like the Aliens timeline, that one is like the first one.
Right.
Like it even takes place before Prometheus and all that stuff is Alien versus Predator.
Right. So yeah, that's so that was one of the things that was exciting about that scene. And then and then after they gave him the weapon, Oh, excuse me. Burping and everything. So after they gave,
That happened.
so after they gave Danny Glover, his character, the weapon, then they
Harrigan,
walk away,
yeah.
and then they just start to take off. It's like, if you get off, you get off. If you get
They don't
off,
even let,
right?
yeah, that's like either
he has to run to get off the ship because it's like, look, we gave you the weapon, and you either coming along with us or you're gonna stay home, but we about to leave. So
yep.
And that was it. And so that was awesome. And
that was crazy too, because that blast, I was like, there's no way he would survive that.
Right.
His body go flying from the takeoff.
Yeah. So that's it. That's our favorite parts of Predator 2. And now we are going to take a short breath, and we're going to talk about the trivia up next. And we're back. We're going to talk about the trivia provided to us by IMDb. Now, I edited this as best as I could because IMDb can be convoluted at times, but it all looks good to me. So I'm going to go with it. So why don't you start us off with the first trivia point?
All right. I think I have it here, but I think I went the wrong way. I was like scrolled down too far. I was actually reading this part because I thought this part was crazy. The part you had written for me here, which is the filming of the alley scene was very troublesome for the filmmakers due to the rough neighborhood. The alley was littered with garbage, most of which was used in the film, and plagued with large rats. Sounds more like New York. And then they have the rat problem there. This part I thought was insane. Local residents, angered by the noise created by the film crew, would throw bottles and paper bags filled with feces from their windows at the crew in the alley below. I'm like, that's just messed up.
That's horrible.
They're just trying to do their job, man. Like, they're not trying to antagonize you.
But they're making too much noise.
And then, yeah. And worst of all, the film crew actually found a dead body hidden among the garbage. The most horrible places I've ever had to film in were the alleys in downtown Los Angeles, Shane Mahan commented. And Predator 2 was shot in a lot of those disgusting alleys. They were dirty and depressing and gross, with people peeing on walls. We'd be rigging something and there would be rats there.
Yeah.
I mean, the rats are the least of your problems at that point. If they're throwing their turds at you. And
Right.
peeing on the walls, I don't think the rats are the biggest issue here.
Right. That it may not be the biggest issue, but it's definitely an issue. Right.
Yeah. That's nuts.
So, I thought that was, I didn't know that LA could get as dirty as that, but I guess, I don't know. Maybe they cleaned it up now, but back in the day,
right,
it was grimy.
Yeah. Which fit with it really fit with the theme of the movie
right.
What was going on in it, but it's like you feel bad for the people that are actually going through it.
Absolutely. So, several of the hunting party members were played by players from the Los Angeles Lakers. Glover was a big fan, and when the production needed several very tall people, they played the background predators. He asked them to help out. So, that's cool.
So, I'm guessing now that the shorter one was not a female if it was one of the Lakers members.
Well, the shorter one, maybe it was an exceptionally tall female.
Predator, maybe, but not, yeah.
But I think that some of the other ones were definitely basketball players.
That's pretty cool. That makes sense, too, because basketball players are usually tall.
Yeah. At least 6'2".
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Next up, we had Stephen Hopkins was given the task of directing Predator 2 after he greatly impressed the studio when directing A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child, which, like I said, another one that I like but universally hated. But it was enough to impress to make Predator 2, which was also universally hated. So
right.
See where that went. He had been given just 4 weeks to shoot and a further 4 weeks to edit the film. Only 4 weeks for this entire movie?
Yeah, that sounds crazy. That sounds like a crazy schedule for a special effects laden film.
Yeah, and for where this film went, like, I know it's not looked upon, but like when you really go back and watch the movie, I would have not thought 4 weeks.
Right.
I would have thought at least several months.
Right.
That's nuts. Yeah, so he had a further 4 weeks to edit the film while also overseeing special effects work. This meant he had to shoot on one stage while the crew dressed the other, allowing them to shoot almost continually. Hopkins said that he managed because he was 28 at the time and required little sleep. Maybe he had a bunch of that Nuka-Cola from your ad.
Yeah. And
to keep him going.
Maybe had he slept a little bit, this would have been a better movie.
Better movie. I mean, it was still good in my book. But
at least better received, right?
To the credits.
Yeah. The Jamaican voodoo posse gangs. I can't see that. I should have edited that. I could have just wrote gangs or posse. You don't need both gangs and posse.
Yeah, that's the Jamaican voodoo gangs.
That's on IMDb right there. I'm putting that all on them. The Jamaican voodoo posse gangs seen in the film were based on actual gangs that were terrorizing New York City and Kansas City in the mid to late 1980s. The Jamaicans were not played by actors or stunt people, but real life bouncers, because as director Stephen Hopkins said, they had to be able to be physically intimidating and die fantastically horribly.
What a word to describe that. Fantastically horribly.
Right.
That's kind of cool though. He chose bouncers to play as them, so they weren't even actors. They were just straight up tough guys to begin with.
Just dudes just waving guns around. Cool. That's all. That's all you need.
Yep. And getting slaughtered by the Predator.
Right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger said no to Predator 2 because of a dispute over money. According to producer John Davis, it was over an additional $250,000, which the studio refused to pay him. However, the director later stated that Schwarzenegger could not commit due to scheduling conflicts. So I guess we don't really know why he's not in the film. It's probably a combination of both.
Maybe a combination of both, but I'm willing to bet it's the money.
I would say the money for sure.
It's like, come on, man.
Like in my mind, it would be the money.
Come on, man. You saw how much the first movie how much that profit came in. You want me? You got to pay up the tickets.
Can you see how much the second movie probably would have profited more instead of bombing had it had Arnold in it?
I think had Arnold Schwarzenegger. They could have had Schwarzenegger and Glover and it would have worked.
That's what I would have liked. Right. That's what I was thinking earlier. I was like, now I want some kind of sequel where they both just make a comeback. Right. Because they both survive.
Right.
And then they encounter each other. That would be pretty cool.
I think if they had a sequel featuring them, they would be like, you would have like a new group of people, maybe they're cops or special forces or whatever, and they're looking for answers because something mysterious has happened in South Africa where people are getting slaughtered, and then they track down Dutch and Detective Harrigan, and it's like, well, what are your experiences? And they tell some of their stories about the Predator. First, they're coy about it. They're like, you don't want to know about what I know. And then
and then they end up having to work together to save the...
Right.
I mean, it sounds like a good movie to me. If anybody's listening to Backlook Cinema right now, they heard it here first.
So I forgot where we're at. We're at okay, I think I see it. Because you just read Arnold Schwarzenegger's salary conflict, and I'm about to read about Kevin Peter Hall. Kevin Peter Hall had studied African tribal dances in order to get the feel and flexibility of the Predator and to give him a personality. So tried to do something with his movements since the Predator didn't have any dialogue.
Imagine if they just had the Predator dancing.
Yeah, I was thinking,
like just straight up, like not like African tribal dancing, but like just like break dancing or something in the middle of an alleyway.
I was trying to think that what in his movement kind of informed him of the personality of the Predator, and I'm just not keen enough to see it. Right, I'm just looking at the kills.
Well, you don't really see him moving that much except when he's running. Right, so it kind of doesn't really. Maybe that got cut from the movie or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of stuff got cut.
Maybe they had more scenes like that. Oh, here we go. After having the lower portion of its arm sliced off, the City Hunter was played in wide shots by one-armed stuntman R. David Smith.
So that's some clever.
So I guess they give it more of that feel. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like instead of having, because usually what they do is that if you have an actor with two arms and they're trying to play a character with one arm, then they'll just wrap their arm around their bodies and then have like a prosthetic, sticking out with a fake arm. It's like, well, we could do that, or we can get this guy who actually has one arm and he could play the Predator. At least in some of these
they didn't
shots.
have the technology like they do now, where they can give like the metal cybernetic arms and stuff.
Right. Well, actually, what
they didn't have that then.
What they do now is that they'll just wear a sleeve, like a green screen sleeve. The actor put the green screen sleeve on, and then when they shoot, they can edit it out.
They'll just cut it out.
Right. But that was clever. That was clever use of somebody who was on your team that only had one arm.
I thought that was pretty cool.
So the film was
practical effects, as they call it.
Right, practical effects. The film was recut and submitted for rating over 17 times, according to
that's crazy
director Hopkins, because of the more graphical shots of mutilated bodies, nudity, and decapitations. by the Predator, the film was initially given an NC-17 rating, and there was a brief talk about keeping it that way, but it was ultimately believed or determined. I'm reading this all wrong.
You got it. I got faith in you.
But this was ultimately believed to be detrimental to the box office, as NC-17 movies are precluded from being advertised in newspapers and screened in certain theaters. By cutting around the explicit shots, often taking out somewhere between 6 and 12 frames, they were able to obtain the desired R rating. Hopkins said that no full scenes had to be cut due to violence or for pacing issues. So they were able to cut around it without cutting like too many scenes from the movie. So that's cool. So basically, I think what they're trying to explain is that to get off the NC-17 rating, they basically only had to cut a few frames of film. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's not like,
although it did include mutilated bodies and decapitation.
Right. It's not.
I just thought it was funny because it said they were worried about it being detrimental to the box office, but I don't think it would have really made much of a difference at that point.
Well, I think it's detrimental because you can't advertise an NC-17 movie the same way you can advertise a rated R movies.
A rated R
movie. That was the problem. They weren't worried about like people going to the movies because it was a good movie. They was worried about not being able to advertise the movies, and that definitely would have been a problem. Like,
oh yeah, it would have been worse, right, for sure.
Because no matter how good and then certain movie theaters won't play NC-17 rated movies, so that also would have been hurtful. So they would have had to rely on word of mouth, and it probably would have bombed worse than it already had.
Yeah, it probably would have just been worse. Yeah.
It's like you're already in trouble because you couldn't get Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't want to make it worse.
Yeah, don't make it worse.
So I'm sorry, that's your part. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. It happens. The subway attack scene was directly adapted from the first Predator comic book series. The producers thought it was cool and wanted to use it in the film. That's cool that they pulled from the comics like that.
And they were right. It was cool. It was a cool scene.
Yeah.
With more
it was one of my favorites.
Right. With more pre-production time than the original Predator, Stan Winston, Stephen Hawkins, and Lawrence D. Paul came up with ideas and designs with more exotic weapons, such as the retractable spear, the detachable pincers. That's the word I was looking for, pincers, and the smart disc.
Pincers.
Yeah. The net, etc., for the Predator to use to differentiate this film from the previous one. Almost twice as many weapons are conceived compared to the original movie, including some sort of jetpack, but only the ones that the team felt had a decent chance of being used in the story and were affordable to be constructed appeared in the movie. So all of it.
I'm surprised they didn't try to remake those into a toy line.
They probably did.
It's just the weapons. They probably.
I'm probably sure. Oh, you mean like nowadays? Like you can actually buy a phaser, or you can actually buy.
Oh yeah.
A lightsaber, right? They didn't try to sell the retractable sphere as a toy.
Or the smart disc. The smart disc would have been pretty great.
Right.
Well, I can imagine a lot of kids throwing that at each other and like taking eyes out, so it probably wouldn't have been a good idea. Anyway.
Right.
Ruben Blades was given a live television interview to Good Morning America from the set of this movie. During the interview, director Stephen Hopkins was unaware of this and thought that Blades was holding up production. So he walked on camera and ordered Blades back to work very loudly. The incident was so embarrassing that Blades and Hopkins did another interview a few days later to apologize. The show stopped doing live interviews ever since. That's nuts.
The director came, "What are you doing here? Get back to work.
Yeah.
We're waiting on you."
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing.
One of the thoughts I had was like, well, couldn't he see the cameras? Couldn't he see they were sitting down doing an interview? But they're on his set. They're on his movie set. Yeah, so, of course, he saw the cameras. Right.
Yeah.
He just didn't know that the TV crew was doing an interview. But yeah, that was like, that's kind of wild. He kind of lost his temper.
That's funny. Yeah, for sure.
King Willie, played by Calvin Lockhart, is said to practice voodoo. Yet voodoo is not commonly practiced in Jamaica and actually came from Haiti. King Willie is more likely a Rastafarian, which is a common religion in Jamaica, and would explain his dreadlocks and the fact that he calls Harrigan Babylon, the Rastafarian term for the justice system, which they see as oppressive and corrupt. So that's new. I felt like I learned something.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Although they obviously screwed it up because they were like in the terms of what they were saying he was practicing voodoo when they could have just done the research and said it was that instead.
Yeah. Well, they
but maybe they felt like voodoo would have made more sense to a worldwide audience.
Right. Well, he is practicing voodoo, but or it looks like voodoo, but they never actually say he's practicing. Well, actually, maybe in the beginning when they were in that what you call it, that the first scene when you see his gang members torturing that pimp dude, and they was doing like a ritual, but I don't know if they
were
they may have said
but I don't
voodoo.
know if they said.
I don't remember, but
I don't know.
Yeah. But
yeah, I don't remember on that one.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's fun. It's fine.
It's just a cool little tidbit. That's
Right.
Stan Winston's team created several extraterrestrial skulls for the Predator trophy room, most of them unnamed alien species sprung from the SWS artist's imaginations. That's kind of cool. However, in a fun nod to the Dark Horse comic Alien vs. Predator, John Rosengrant and Shane Mahan decided to include an alien warrior skull in the Predator's trophy case. The skull was sculpted by Kevin Hudson and was reported stolen afterwards. Of course, somebody from set stole it.
Yeah, of course they did.
Most likely.
Yeah, but see...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Because
I didn't even pick up that there was an alien skull in Predator 2.
Oh, you didn't see that trophy room?
No, well, I remember the trophy room, but I didn't know. I noticed the human skull.
Right.
For some reason, I didn't notice the xenomorph skull.
Yeah, that extraordinarily long skull, that was the alien skull.
Yeah, for some reason, I must have, maybe I looked away or something for a minute and didn't see that part.
Right. So after being offered the lead, Danny Glover was quick to jump aboard the movie, as he knew of few movies that had a black man fighting a supernatural being. Stephen Hopkins said that the studio's only concern was that the African-American leading man would limit the film's profitability in some countries, like South Africa. But they eventually agreed, given Glover's popularity with the Lethal Weapon movies. Hopkins also stated that Glover's presence worked as a magnet on several other actors who were keen to work with him. So he attracted some quality actors because he was in the movie, because people want to work with Danny Glover because he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he is awesome. And like we said, the people wanted Arnold, but Danny Glover still there I go. Still did an amazing job.
Yeah, he did.
As his character. And the brief scene with the hunting party was the most expensive to make in the entire film. Stan Winston's effects team had to build 9 additional unique Predator suits for just a few minutes of screen time. Yeah, because that part didn't last very long at all.
Yeah.
But they had to make 9 suits.
Right. And they did an outstanding job. And I want to say that because they were all distinct and different, that none of the 2 Predator who made a cameo at the end of the movie, no 2 looked alike. And they were all, they were the same, but at the same time, they were distinct. So I thought that was pretty awesome. So that, like I said, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie, because when you see all of the Predators,
right,
and they all show
really
up,
cool.
That's pretty cool. So that's it for the trivia. And up next, we're going to see what the critics thought. And we're back to talk about what the critics thought. Now, the critics gave it a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score was 44%. IMDb Reviews has it as 6.3 out of 10. That's about what I expected. So
yeah, that's not that bad to me.
Right.
Like a lot. It's same thing with video games. Like people are like, "Oh, 7, that game's terrible." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? 7 out of 10 is decent."
Yeah, I agree. I'll play a 6 out of 10 game and have a great time. The same way with a lot of these movies.
Yeah, for sure. Steve Murray from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution said, "If you like your movies to double as a cudgel, this one's for you. And if you want to really There I go messing up. If you want to see really good actors play one-dimensional loud characters, that's an extra bonus. What does he mean by one-dimensional?
Well, like the actors only do one thing. Like there's no, they're not complex. Like the only thing that Danny Glover in this movie is, he's just an angry super cop. Or the only thing that like the police captain does is he plays the archetype police captain. I was like, damn it, detective, you gotta clean up your act, right? They're all,
I guess you're right. There's no like real drama.
It's not like, well, as being an action super cop, he's also a caring father, and he's also a drug addict, right? It's not, they don't add layers. He has about 2 layers.
Could you imagine?
Right. He has about 2 layers in his movie. He is an action super cop, and he's afraid of heights. So I think he's a little bit more than one-dimensional, but I get
the afraid of heights, like that comes into play quite a bit, right? Which I actually thought was a cool touch to his character.
Absolutely, I agree.
And the one part when you first know that he's afraid of heights, here we go off on another tangent, but Danny Boy is like holding his hand on top of the roof to try and tell him it'll be okay. And I thought that was a cool scene too.
And then at the end of the movie, he had to overcome his fear of heights to get off the building, to get to the predator, to do all of these things.
Yeah,
so he actually had his character actually had a little bit of growth, right?
And he overcomes his fear.
Right.
So I would say that was more, at least for Danny Glover's character, that was more than one-dimensional.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can see where this dude is coming from. And if I were to answer his question, yes, I don't mind a movie with one-dimensional characters. It's fine.
Apparently I don't either, because I love Predator too.
Right. It's what I
actually like it more than the first one, which is crazy. The people are going to scream about that, but I like the second one more, and I like the one with Arnold.
Right. It's what you call a story-driven narrative rather than a character-driven narrative. I don't mind story-driven narratives. So
no, me either.
What's the next guy?
Ethan Nathan from Empire Magazine. It says, given Arnold Schwarzenegger and director John McTiernan had declined to return, the sequel to their Matra sci-fi Rumble in the Jungle is surprisingly good.
Yeah.
See, that was a nice one.
Right.
That was a nice review.
I think his name is Ian, but...
Oh, Ian.
Yeah, Ian Nathan. I could tell how you messed that up. I would have messed that up too.
I would just say Ian every time.
Right, but it could be Ian. I don't know how he pronounces his name. It depends. It depends on how he likes to say it. It could be either Ian or Ian. It could be.
He could come on the show and tell you.
Right. But I agree. It was he seems to enjoy it, and I really enjoy it, so that's cool. Yep. So up next is Steve Weinberg from the Boston Phoenix. He wrote, I see, here's a word that I wrote down. I practice saying this word. It's a new word. I learned what it meant. It's my new word vocabulary. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but I'm going to give it a shot. The fortuitousness. No, that's not how you say it. Hold on.
That sounds
you know
like
what?
It to me.
That sounds like it.
I'd go with it.
That sounds like I'm going to go with it. The fortuitousness of, well, hold on. I'm messing it up because I said of instead of and, so I'm messing it up again. The fortuitousness and derivativeness of Predator 2 might almost be enjoyable if the film weren't so loud and relentless. So,
listen, Steve, the film is enjoyable. I don't care what you have
to
say.
Right. And fortuitousness is just a big fancy word for being silly or not serious or whatever. He could have just said that the movie was silly, but he wanted to show off his big vocabulary, so he used fortuitousness and derivativeness. That's like a 5-syllable word. Why are you making this hard?
Yeah.
All right, we know
he's trying to sound really smart.
He wanted to show off his college degree. We get it, dude. You're smart. Lastly, Alex Sindel from Juicy Cerebellum Times wrote, entertaining and full of violence, not even close to as good as the first, but well worth watching. And I understand that.
I disagree, Alex. I like it better.
Right. I thought it was just as good. It was at least that. Like, I'm not going to go out and be all like, oh, I thought it was better than the first one. I'm not like you, Tony, but
that's what I do. I take the shots.
Right.
I don't care.
But I seriously, I'm being sincere when I say I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but I still truly enjoyed this movie. It's full of fun. I liked how the thing that really attracts me to this movie is how different it is. Like the first movie was in the jungle, so they flipped it on you and they brought it to the city. He's fighting people where everybody's armed, so he's killing everybody. It's just, and like I said, the dialogue, the story, it's all fun. It's a fun movie to watch, and I can't understand.
I think that.
Go ahead.
That might be one of the reasons why I like it better, because the first one was like a war movie with the Predator is kind of how it felt to me. And like, I'm not big on like a lot of war movies, whereas the second one's like the city and the gangs. So for some reason, it just appealed a little bit more to me.
Right. So yeah, it was cool. I truly enjoyed it. So,
and I'm just biased to like everything Danny Glover's in, so that might have something to do with it too.
Absolutely. So Predator 2 is, as of this recording, available on HBO Max. That's it for today. Next week, we explore a brand new podcast that examines the culture of decades past. And it's a podcast that I've come to love called Retromade. The next guest is the host, Katie. Follow us on Twitter or TikTok at Backlick Cinema, or on Facebook or Instagram at Backlick Cinema Podcast. And if you're on Mastodon, at Backlick Cinema at mstdn.party. Don't forget that you can contact us with any questions, comments, or suggestions at fanmail@backlickcinema.com. And Tony Z, you have any additional plugs?
Yeah, I think we said in the beginning I was going to say the socials, and I never said them. So, you can find me on pretty much everything. If you look up Infinite Journeys, you'll find it. Infinite Journeys Podcast. Just type it in. You'll find it on Twitter, Instagram. That's the main show. And For the Love of is a new one, but I had to spell it weird because it wouldn't let me type the whole show. So if you're looking for that, it's FT Love of Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. And then look up Tony Z Plays on YouTube.
Okay.
That's all my plugs.
Awesome. And all of those are on your, what do you call that? Linktree.
Yeah, there's all my Twitter pages have like their own link tree to each of the shows.
Right.
So that, like, what I really should have done was just one link tree that just had the links for everything. But for some reason, I just create one for every show.
Right. Well, I mean, that works too. And yeah, so that's cool. You'll be found.
Yeah, and then the last one I didn't mention was Jump Scare Club. Also, just look for that on any of your podcast platforms. Just type in Jump Scare Club. It's the only one. So
awesome.
It'll pop up. For the Love of, you might have some trouble if you try to search for that one, because there's like, I didn't realize it when I did that one, but there's a bunch of podcasts with the same name.
I noticed that too.
So now I'm like, oh, dang it. When I Googled it, I didn't see anything. But then once I actually made the show, all of a sudden, here they all are. Mine has like a weird heart waving.
Right.
Retro heart with a smile face. So there you go.
But what you can do, what I like to do is you already have your link tree for the Love of. So it won't be too hard for people to find it. But if you're looking for any podcast, like if you get some information, somebody said, well, listen to my podcast, and they give you the name of the podcast, and you having a problem finding it in your podcast player, because most podcast players have terrible search engines.
Yeah.
There's a site called pod.link, and it's a pod. Hold on, let me double check. I might be getting this wrong. It's pod.link. So type that in your search engine, and it's basically a search directory for all podcasts. So if you can't find the podcast by name, you can find it by the creator. So if you go to, for example, Tony Z said For the Love of is difficult to find because there are a bunch of podcasts called For the Love of. So if you go to pod.link and you type in Tony Z, then all the podcasts that are authored by Tony Z shows up, and in the For the Love of shows up. So, or if you're looking for Infinite Journeys or Backlick Cinema or whatever podcast. And then what's neat about pod.link is that you can click on whatever player. It has most of the it has most of the popular podcast catchers. So Apple Podcast, Spotify, Pod, whatever. It has most of the good, more popular ones. And you click on that and it takes you to the podcast player, or it'll take you directly to your app with the show, so you can go ahead and start listening. So nice. There you go. We did the things.
Yeah, we did.
So one last time, if you liked this show, then please help us grow by spreading the word about Backlick Cinema, the podcast. And I know you've enjoyed our guest, Tony Z, so please listen to his shows Infinite Journeys and For the Love of. Believe me, it matters. I've been Zoe Richardson. Be safe, share a movie from yesteryear with your family, hug your loved ones, and if you're gonna be anything, be outstanding.